My name is Maria Garcia. I'm the author of the book We Made San Diego. This is my second book, and the purpose of this book was to tell about our history in San Diego because there's so much history and we're not in the history books. I'm very proud of my book because it informs us about the many contributions Latinos, Mexican-Americans, Chicanos have made to San Diego. Many of these contributions are not found in history books or even known by our own community. Welcome to the We Made San Diego video podcast. In this episode, we are featuring Adela Garcia, who was the first Latina hired at IBM. As we take you through Adela Garcia's story, you will have to decide if Adela's an activist, a leader, or both. Adela was born in 1950 in Colima, Mexico. Her father worked as a bracero and would return to Colima at the end of each season. The decision was made to move the family to Tijuana, where they could live with an aunt and wait to receive their green card. They waited until the green card came, but when it did arrive, Adela and her little brother were left with the aunt. Her mom and dad went to work on the Bonecos Ranch. With the green card, they could move to San Diego. Once again, her parents decided to leave the ranch and go to work in a little restaurant. Her mom enrolled Adela in Sherman School. Adela was a non-English speaker, and when the teacher told them to quit talking, she continued to talk. The teacher took the ruler and hit Adela across the knuckles. At the first opportunity, Adela bolted from the classroom and ran home. Her mother, not knowing the American school system, decided not to send her back. She had no idea it was illegal not to send her to school. When the school figured out their mistake, they apologized and her parents returned her to school. Adela loved Sherman School and became an office monitor. Mr. Ross, the principal, gave the office monitors an autographed book. Adela was so proud of that book. Her mom wanted her to go to Catholic school instead of Memorial Junior High. However, she waited too long and there was no room. Instead, Adela attended Memorial Junior High, where she thrived. At that time, Father Fader was looking for someone to volunteer to type the church bulletin. Adela volunteered and was selected to type the church bulletin. This is also when the church was losing young people, and Father Fader brought in a new young priest, Father Brown. Father Brown started the Catholic Youth Organization, also known as the CYO. Adela told Father Brown how strict her father was, so he personally went to her house and asked her father for permission for Adela to take part in the CYO. He received permission for both Adela and her sister to attend the CYO. Adela graduated from San Diego High. Her young brother died that year, and Adela was depressed. She had the opportunity to attend San Diego State. One of the requirements was that you live in the dorms. Adela's parents told her if she accepted and went to San Diego State, she would be dead to them. So instead, she went to City College and began working at a furniture store on National Avenue. She was asked to fill in for a co-worker, and it came to her attention that she was not earning the same salary as the person she was filling in for. The manager basically told her to hit the road. Father Brown's sister Patty had given Adela her business card and told her if she ever could help her to feel free to call. Adela called Patty and was told that she would have to type 45 words per minute. Adela explained that she did not own a typewriter, and the one at the church had 2 keys that stuck. Patty had an IBM typewriter delivered to Adela's house so she could practice. Adela passed the test and was hired at IBM. Adela did have support at IBM, which she refers to her 3 black angels. This picture shows Sandy Johnson, one of the black angels. The man seen in this picture is Joe Bolger, a sales rep at IBM. The other 2 black angels were IBM secretaries Mary and Gary and Eleanor Espy. She was seen by some people that her new position was referred to as equal opportunity hire. Not everyone was like that. There was a wonderful lady named Mrs. Bridges who advised her how to dress. At first, Adela was not impressed or prepared to take her advice. When Adela told her mother what Mrs. Bridges had said, her mother told her she thought it was a good idea to take this advice.
That weekend, Adela went shopping.
Adela gained the respect of her co-workers and management. She was invited to speak at the GI Forum conference.
Mayor Mary Salas invited Adela to join MANA, which she did.
Adela has been an active member of MANA for the last 30 years. MANA has always supported the Women's March and invited other women to join. Adela loves working with MANA. One of the programs is the Hermanita program.
This program involves the women in MANA mentoring young girls from various high schools.
Adela's favorite MANA program is the Latino Success Conference. Dr. Lupa Buell and Adela co-chair the conference every year. It is well attended, and to date, there have been 300 women to successfully graduate from the program. These are pictures of some of the women that have completed the program and are serving on boards and commissions. This is the printed program for the Latino Leadership Program. While women earn an average of 95 cents on the dollar compared to white men, Latinas only earn 58 cents on the dollar.
This is Adela and Sonia Lopez. Please take a minute and read this with me. When women come together with a collective intention, powerful things happen.
As Adela became more politically active, she worked with the Bahía del Sur. Bahía del Sur endorses political candidates. Adela also became active in the South Bay Symposium. Both organizations not only made her more active, but gave her a political awareness that made her work more for equality for the Latino community. This is Adela. On the left, you see Adela as a young girl on the playground of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The second picture on the right is a recreation taken recently by her nephew when Adela was honored by the church. The first section of this program includes interviews from footage from 2022. The second section is a very recent interview. Adela, first off, thank you very much for being here. And secondly, talk about how you think you've impacted the multicultural community and worked together or made a change.
Oh, thank you, Maria. I'm very proud of the fact that I was hired at IBM at the age of 20 years old when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 had started to change things for minorities like myself. And the Chicano movement in particular was the one that really drove, for me, changes that really helped me to get into IBM. One of the things that I remember is being the first Latina hired at IBM was pretty scary. And it was scary from the standpoint that I knew that all eyes were on me. You know, that if I were going to succeed or if I was going to fail, it would leave an impact in what was done with others. Because when you are the first woman that is in a manager position or in an engineering area or in any of those, you're really leading. And you don't think that you're leading, but you are. And the ability of myself to very young figure out how to be able to make up for the deficiencies that I had by getting good mentors, by being like a little sponge that absorbed every advice that was given to me. All of those things, I think, really help. And it doesn't matter whether it was the first Latina, the first African American, the first white woman, all of us that were trailblazers, that basically were the first, have an obligation. We have an obligation to make sure that it is known that this happened with me. It was 1970. It wasn't that long ago.
No.
It wasn't that long ago. And we need to make sure that people understand that the struggle was real. It's still real. But we have a tremendous opportunity for young people. And the thing that I have loved about being in your book is that it gives me a chance to educate the young. You know, they say that you learn from your past, you learn how to prepare for the future. But when we're not in the libraries, we're not on the coffee tables of people's homes, how are our kids going to learn the lessons that happened to people like me? I always say that I'm the greatest steward of the Chicano movement because from that movement came many opportunities for me. And it was not given to me. I had to really excel, and I had to fight just like every other person that I know. But it is important that the kids have these books and that they recognize that you can't really shape a new future if you don't understand your past. And when you are not part of the past because you don't see yourself, that's a problem. That's why, aside from being proud that I was the first Latina, the tremendous obligation that I felt, I feel the tremendous satisfaction that I get to help to shape another generation of young people. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm really grateful that everybody was willing to be interviewed. That's what I'm most grateful, because the book would not have happened without that. Who were your mentors?
Well, because I was the first Latina, I would like to tell you that I had other Latinas, but the bottom line, they were white men.
Okay.
They were white men. And one in particular, Father Brown, was probably my greatest mentor besides my mother. My mother has a third grade education, but she is the smartest woman. She has a PhD in life. And Father Brown, he was my mentor. But I had other mentors inside the company, people that saw this young girl with enthusiasm, that was coachable. And sure, I made mistakes, but every mistake that I made, I learned from. And then I was this eager person to learn.
Talk about your black angels.
Oh, my 3 black angels, I love them. 1964 was the Civil Rights Movement, right? It opened up legislation to say you must have a workforce that resembles the population. And there were 3 black women at IBM that were secretaries. Marion Gary, you know Marion Gary, I think they call her Bunny.
Yes.
Marion Gary, Eleanor Espy, and then my wonderful Sandra Johnson. And these 3 women, when I joined in, because they were unique, there weren't that many African Americans. At that time we called them blacks, okay, but there weren't that many African Americans. And like I said, I was the first Latina, but they knew the road and how difficult it was. And they put their arms around me like angels, and they guided me. There were times when I didn't know if something was right. I just didn't feel right. And they would say, you have a right. This is what you can do. This is how you can go about it. And that coaching that I would get in terms of how to be able to talk when something didn't feel right, to present it in a manner that wasn't going to antagonize someone, but to strictly just get the point across, they were wonderful. Throughout my career, they were always my cheerleaders, my champions, but they were also my guides. And they were the ones that were saying, don't stop. The only one that can call the stop is you. And Sandra Johnson, Sandra and I are still friends, okay? We are like sisters, because she was the one that the whole time, especially when I went into management, I was so lonely. And she would email me or she would call me, how you doing, doll? How are you doing? Do you need anything? And there was nothing that I really needed, but just that sense of not being alone. And I think that women, when they advance, especially if you're the first woman, all eyes are on you. And if you make a mistake, it's magnified, right? But if you're doing well, I think there's also a plus side, because it's noticed, because you are the only one. And so you can't say that it's all bad or all good, but it is tough. And when you have people like I had in my life, and especially like I tell you, I had white men that loved me. Paul Metcalf, that I talked to you about, he was my friend. He was 96 years old when he died. And I still have all of his cards that he would send me, that you're doing great, Della, keep it up. All of those little things that he would do at Christmas or, for different things, just to say hi, just to keep tabs. Dick DeVille, my other manager, all of these men. But I think the important thing is that I learned very young that I couldn't do things alone.
And that's an important lesson.
It's very important. Everybody tries to be, I'm going to do everything. No, it takes the whole community. It takes people. It takes a network. And that's one thing that I always tell people, that I have the strongest network of any woman. And when I make a phone call, because I'm so serious about trying to make sure that we do the right thing for people and that we can help our communities, I'm so blessed that people will respond. But they respond because they know that we care deeply and that we're going to do something to help the next generation.
Talk a little bit about your childhood. Tell us what it was like.
Well, my childhood was very tough because I was a separated family. You know, my parents were working over here, and I was in Tijuana with my younger brother, and that was tough. That was very tough. Coming to this country and not speaking English was horrible because they used to think I was shy. Well, there was nothing shy about me. I just couldn't communicate. And when you look at my youth and my childhood in particular, and you see that, thank God I had wonderful teachers. One in particular, my second grade teacher, she was the one that I set the bar on what teaching should be on, because she used to put all of us that were non-English speaking children, and she would put our papers up on the board with a little star or whatever, you know, to say that it was good, because some of the kids could do math very quickly, because math has no language. I could write beautifully. I had great penmanship. In fact, I was accused of going to Catholic school because I had such beautiful penmanship. But there was always this beautiful way of educating. And I learned that with children in particular, you've got to reinforce, and you've got to do it all the way through school. And then for me, you know, even middle school, Memorial just down the street here. Memorial, this is where I came. It was a tough school. I loved it. It was my greatest time. It was my greatest time because that's when I think I learned the most.
Really?
Yeah.
And when you left high school, what were your plans?
Well, I love working with people. So my goal was to be a probation officer. That's what I thought I was going to do. And man upstairs had a different plan. Okay. So out of necessity, I went to go work at IBM. It was through a networking opportunity that I found, and they had a need to hire minorities. You know, civil rights movement, EEOC, you know, some people are embarrassed to say that they got hired. I'm not. I'm grateful for that because it gave people like me an opportunity that might not have had an opportunity. Once you get in there, you better, you know, step up. But thank God that I had that as something to help me because that was trying to even the playing field.
You worked at IBM, but you had a job prior to that. We don't have to name the company. What happened there? Can you tell us a little bit about?
Oh, that was, I think that was one of the best lessons in life because I worked in a furniture store and I worked with about three amazing people that I remember. Two of them are still dear friends. But I did some wonderful things there to help to advance the company. And because I was doing the payroll, I found that an individual was making the same amount of money when I had greater skills and greater contributions. And I challenged it. And the general manager, it was really funny. He said, "You're very young and you have a bright future here. But if you think that you can't handle it, well, there's the door." And I was flabbergasted because in my mind, I was really contributing. I was doing great stuff. And here's this man telling me I was not valued. But what that did was it set me in motion with my network. And I picked up the phone, called Roger Cáceres, called Father Brown, said, "I need to get out of this place. I don't want to work here another day." But because I had a car payment,
you had to work another day.
I had to work another day. But it set me in motion to go look for something else. And had it not been for that, I think I probably would have continued on with school and maybe still been a probation officer. But it really threw me into this, I'm getting out of here, I'm going to do something, I am not going to be a victim. I really believe that when things happen to people, you have two avenues. You can learn from it and move forward, or you can be victimized. And I choose not to be victimized by anything. I really think that, to me, that's something that you just learn to live with.
And the reason I point these out, because so many young people think, "Oh, look at Adela, she's so successful. Oh, I'm sure she never had a problem in her life. She just went right up the ladder, no big deal." And I call them hurdles. Yeah. People go through hurdles to get where they got. And so I like to point them out, not to point out the racism, not to point out, "Oh, look what they did to the pobrecita," none of that, but to let people know that it wasn't handed to you in a gift bag.
Yeah, and the thing that's so beautiful, Maria, is that I think the way that people resonate with me is because I am their lives too.
Yeah.
The women and the men that I have known that I love, we've all had similar challenges. And especially the women, because in my generation, women were expected just to get married and have kids. You know, that was it. That's all you were going to achieve. So why did you want to go to school? You shouldn't have to go to school. You know, you don't need an education. That's very typical in a family. So for me, that ability that I had to really just start to see a different future than the one that had been given to my mother, okay, I think that was really important. And other people that see me, they say, geez, she makes sense, because I was the same one. I was the same way. It doesn't matter what career you were in, we all had the same challenges in terms of how we're reviewed, what did we have to do, how much did we have to put up with, because it would be crazy to say that we didn't have to put up with some stuff. Some stuff you couldn't change.
Yeah.
And some people you couldn't educate. They didn't want it, and quite frankly, you had to get past them. You had to make sure that you were strong enough to be able to see yourself in a different light and find that avenue that got you past that obstacle.
As you started to move up to management skills, what were your thoughts, and how did you overcome some of those negative thoughts that might have come into your mind?
I was scared.
I think that's important, because people need to know we were scared.
I was scared. You know, something that is so easy for me now is public speaking. But at the time, I wasn't a public speaker. And the ability to be able to know that you have a few minutes to be intentional with your messaging, to say what you need to say, to do it in a manner that gets it home. That's what I call it, gets it home. I think all of that is important. And when you're leading people, especially because there's different styles of management, I didn't want to lose who I was. I purposely chose to be a certain way because I didn't want to be viewed upon. And I'll give you an example. When I hired into IBM, all the women just about all had these white blouses with the little ties here. All the men wore, you know, the black or the gray striped or navy blue stripe and wingtip shoes. And the gals all wore, you know, they all looked like a certain cookie cutter, you know. With me, it was like, no, I'm not going to change. So anyway, I think that for me, it was something to find that managerial style that was authentic to me, that still let me be successful and still let me be the type of person that I wanted to be. Because when you work for a company, you got to deliver. Mm-hmm. You know, if you work for yourself, that's a different thing. But when you work for a company, you are representing the company, you're delivering for whatever the objectives are. And so all of that had to be something that was top of mind. How to be your own person, how to still manage effectively, and still be the same person that you like at the end of the day.
What do we not know about you that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, wow, there's a lot.
That you're willing to share?
I think that I'm still a work in progress.
Okay.
I've never seen myself as end of job. I love to write, and there's a book up here somewhere.
I hope so.
I really, from the experiences and the wonderful things that I have experienced in life, I would like to write. And what I have found, and this is one reason that I think I appreciate you so much, is that when you write, the creative doesn't happen because you have the time. Sometimes it's the reverse, right?
Yeah.
When you're most pressed is when an idea pops in and you can develop it. And so that's one thing that I would like to have people know, that I am a work in progress. I don't ever feel that I'm done and that I've learned it all and that anybody should think that I'm all that good, because it isn't. I'm a work in progress. But I do know that this is something I want to do. I want to write a book.
Is your best job being a grandmother?
Absolutely. It is the hardest job. It is harder than I ever did at IBM.
Okay.
But it is the most rewarding thing, because I'm shaping these two little guys. I'm helping to put little seeds in a garden. They will have their own garden, but I feel like my role as a grandmother is something very important, and I want to do for them things that I couldn't get done for me. So it's pretty amazing.
What else would you like to share with us?
Well, I would just like for people to know, and especially the young people, I want them to know that the things that are happening today could easily disappear.
And we're watching some of that.
Yes, they don't understand how close we are to having things that we take for granted just taken away. And it's very important for me to feel that from your book, learning the history, but then talking to some of the fabulous people that are in this book, that have really been super in terms of opening doors for other kids and things that they've done, because I've read them all. It's really important that they have that opportunity, but that they recognize that if they don't recognize today that this could disappear tomorrow, it will.
It will. It's starting to.
It's already
usually.
starting.
Yeah.
It's already starting, and that's sad.
I think something real important for everyone to know is none of us made it on our own. We all had a helping hand, a shoulder to stand on, something that made a difference in our lives.
Absolutely.
And I have seen you make a difference in people's lives.
Oh, thank you.
I really have. Is there anything you want to share about your family or your work, or what are you going to do in the future?
Well, my future is my kids, my daughter and son-in-law, and my 2 little grandbabies. But I'm not done in the community yet. I still want to do things to help women advance. This Latino Success Leadership Program that we started through MANA, it's for professional women, and it is to prepare them to lead. And to me, if I could spend more time with it, I would, because it is so important to have that particular support for women. And I would like to see it continue.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time from your Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
We just saw a video that we did in June of 2022, and there's been considerable change since then, and you predicted part of it. I think you had a crystal ball. So tell me, where are you at now? How do you see yourself then and now?
Oh, gosh. We had a feeling. This wasn't to be something that just happened without thinking it through. We had a feeling back then in 2022 that something major was going to change, and not for the better. And it's sad. It's sad to think that we are regressing, that we're going backwards instead of forwards. And I wish I didn't have that crystal ball, but we could clearly see evidence of things that were about to change. To me, one of the most difficult things that I've had to wrestle with is the thing that got me in to be the first Latina hired in IBM San Diego. Because I wasn't the first one across all of IBM, but I was the first one, the first Latina in San Diego. And this destruction of DEI, in fact, a lot of people go, what is DEI?
Yeah.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the time that I was hired into IBM, it was a product of the civil rights movement that forced companies to start hiring employees that looked like them. And it wasn't whenever you want to do it. I mean, there was legislation that was enacted for it. And there was a tracking mechanism to make sure that companies were, in fact, moving in that direction. And there was, I think, for those of us that were hired, I kind of felt like I had something to prove every single day, because I was the first Latina. And there was a thought that if you got hired, you were being hired because they had to fulfill a number. Your employer had to fulfill a number. And this constant in your head that said, no, I was hired because I was the best.
And because I am going to do something very, very significant. I am going to contribute more. I'm going to do it differently. And that to me was something that was always in the back of my head, that it wasn't because there was a number on me and a penalty on the company. It was that there was an opportunity for growth. The evolution of why people of color and women and other groups needed to be included really surfaced from an understanding of the marketplace. Who is the consumer?
What gave you that confidence? That looks like a lot of confidence to me.
I had a lot of people that really believed in who I was, and there were people that I work with. Maria, I was not the most intelligent person at IBM. Okay, they hired the top 1% out of the college campuses, but I was one of the people that worked the hardest. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, if people see your desire and that if you're coachable and you're the type that puts in the work, I think you're going to find other people there that will join you, they'll support you. And I just absolutely felt like I had to open the door for somebody else. You know that you probably did the same thing yourself, in your role as principal. The same thing with anybody that would get into any position of authority. You couldn't. In fact, they say if you climb up, send the elevator back down, or when you make it, go up and reach behind and pull somebody up. All of that stuff is I think stuff that we hear about. But I think in most of the individuals that I know that I value and I have great friendships with, yourself and others, that's something that we've done all our lives without even thinking about it.
I'm always surprised when somebody says, "Oh, thank you for helping me. You didn't have to do that." I never think of not having to do it. We all have to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is that what's happening right now, it's scary because even though some companies are rebranding it, they're saying we're not going to call it DEI, but there's still a focus on what are the opportunities and where is their movement? What do you need to do? I think that there's still the recognition that somewhere along the line, we have missed a step and we've gone backwards, because the gains that we made in terms of being able to get more kids into college, women advancing into jobs that are better paying jobs, and really contributing. And if you take a look, at the marketplace and who are the consumers, there's plenty of opportunities. And so I look at that and I'm kind of going, we need to keep going, but how do you do that in a time when there is so much, ripping apart of people and trying to separate us, so that one person is looking at it this way and the other one, and we're not working together anymore. It looks like we're working away from each other.
Did you have people whose shoulder you stood on, or that kind of support?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. To me, the greatest person in my life was Father Brown. Okay. Father Brown, to me, he taught me about valuing myself. He didn't just teach me, he taught every kid that was in our youth group, because we had the Catholic Youth Organization. And it wasn't so much about how to say the Our Father and Hail Mary, it was how to be a good person. All of this, how do you serve others? How do you, learn your own traits? And he would say, we all have gifts from God. When you discover what yours are, you're going to be real good at it. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Because it wasn't like you're going to do this and you're going to go do that. It was to discover what you did differently, and then to have the faith that you could do it differently. I worry right now, and we were worrying about it when we talked the last time, that this might be happening right now, that this destruction of programs that were helping to advance communities, it's here. So I'm saying it is not okay. We should not pretend that they're not happening. We should be looking at how and what can we do to change it.
And there are people pretending, oh, that happens to them, but not me.
Right, right. Well, the same thing happened, years ago. I don't know how many people will relate, but I used to say, they would say, what are you? And somebody would say, well, I'm an American. And so, I think we're all Americans.
I agree.
Okay, I think we're all Americans. But I was very proud that I was of Mexican descent. And when they introduced Mexican-American, I was quite happy with it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to justify that I could speak 2 languages, that I would eat a certain way because that was what we ate at home. But I would tell you, it was like a learning thing for people to do that. And I had people that would just, oh no, I don't speak any Spanish. We don't need to. And now I find people that are saying, gee, you speak really, really good Spanish. And I would say, but I had to invest because I was not encouraged to speak Spanish in school.
Talk about that.
That's hard because I tell you, I call it the sandwich generation. I wasn't good enough to speak English professionally and with the extensive vocabulary that I've developed over time. And I didn't have Spanish that way. So you're kind of in the middle. I finally got to the point where I was quite happy. And one day when I went to an interview at Univision, I told the guy, yo soy pocha. Now, and I know that years ago, if somebody had called you a pocha, you didn't want to meet him outside, right? Those were grounds for, just squaring up. But for me, I was okay to say that. And then somebody said, but you should speak better Spanish. And I'd say, yeah, but they didn't allow us to speak Spanish in the schools.
Talk about your experience at Sherman.
Sherman School was quite an experience because it was a really, really, really growth period. I found that my mother had my 6th grade report card, and I didn't realize, I knew I was an office monitor because in the book there is the whole episode with how I changed some things at the school, okay, because they didn't know that I only spoke and we were a separated family. But what I also learned that I was an office monitor. And what I didn't know and remember was that I was class president.
Okay.
So that to me is pretty interesting because, as a class president, it shows that you had leadership, even though when I started, I didn't speak a word of English. And it was very, very hard. They had to peg us, with me. They was like, oh, she's really shy. She's super shy. No, I just couldn't speak the language. Fast forward to IBM, and I'm on a worldwide team. And my mannerism of the things that I do as a Latina are an asset.
Yeah.
And there was this connection with people all over the world. And when I went on a global trip, the fact that I could speak Spanish and I could speak English, because there in Europe and in other countries, if you don't speak more than one language, you're not successful. And for the first time in my whole IBM 38-year career, that was the one time when I felt my language was valued. But more importantly, the way that I carried myself, because I would ask, how's your family? Because that's the way we are. We're friendly. We develop relationships, right? And it was like, oh yeah. And before you know it, when you develop relationships with people, there's a different way of doing business and you can break down any wall that's there between you.
And you have a really important organization that you helped form.
Well, I joined.
Okay.
I joined MANA. And when I joined, it was called San Diego MANA. Through the years, they changed it to now say MANA de San Diego. But for over 30 years, I have been with this women's organization that I love.
What does it do?
Well, MANA started off with just women trying to find a way to come together in some meaningful way to affect change. And a handful of women started it. And it wasn't here in San Diego. okay, a chapter was formed here in San Diego. And the chapter that we have in San Diego is the largest in the MANA network. And it's one of the most successful. But we, with this group of women that were just focused on helping, they did a study. And Maria Nieto Señor, I think, was one of the people that did a study on a problem that they had with dropout rates. And they found that the second largest dropout rate was in the Latina girls. And so they started with a mentoring program that still happens today with girls. When I joined MANA, I joined because I had gone to the Latino South Bay Symposium. And that was an effort to bring in elected officials into the pipeline that would be Latino, or to make sure that the people that were being elected were knowledgeable about the issues affecting our community and were working toward helping us in that area. And it was so important to be able to go to that meeting, and from that meeting feel that I could do something. So I did. I met Mary Salas, and Mary Salas invited me to join MANA, to go to a meeting. And when I went, there were like 6 or 7 women at the county, one of the county admin building. And at first I didn't know anyone except Mary. She was very busy with the stuff, but I just felt like, maybe I made a mistake, because, anytime you're entering a new group and you're the only one that's different. But I listened to what they had to say, and I said, oh, heck yeah, I'm in absolutely the right place.
Good.
Because my heart knew that what was given to me and what I took advantage of was something that had to continue.
Okay, we're going to start wrapping this up, but tell me something. You looked at that video and at Youth Today. Is there anything you should tell us, or I should ask you?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, we have this wonderful program called Latina Success Leadership Program, and it's to inspire women to advance to the highest positions. It's for women in middle management. It's not for girls, it's for women. This is our 10th cohort that we've done this year. With this, we will have had 300 women go through it. And I think what I want to say is, what are we all going to do to change what is happening today? What do we need to do as an organization so that this isn't just somebody else's problem to solve? The erosion and the lack of focus on women, the lack of focus on the problems of we were trying to address back then, that hasn't changed. So why would we allow things to just evaporate? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to organize? And we do have people in office, and we should be demanding that they do the work, that we're at the table with them, and that it isn't just, it's okay. It's not okay. We must never be okay. And every educator needs to know and remember that they are the ones, besides the parent, with the opportunity to educate young people. So expose them to things, get them thinking about things, have them understand where things were before in the 60s and how we started to make progress, and how now there is this big boulder blocking the road so that people can continue on their journey. We still have a long ways to go.
A long ways.
The numbers that we started with LSLP, less than 4% of women were in Latinas were in managerial positions. And the fact that we have this workplace wage, gap. Okay, that's still there. And I'm not one, you and I get to a certain age and we're we're a little impatient, aren't we?
Well, I want to see it before I die. That's what I feel about everything.
I'm saying don't stop. Don't stop. It's not solved. It's not solved. We shouldn't. Everything, if my career and the way that if you look at this thing and you say, I see myself in Adela because I had the same road, okay? Because that's why people find me relatable, quite honestly. If there's anything in what you heard there, then know that we must not remain silent. We must demand that we do something, and we must do everything that we can to help young people.
I want to thank you. You have so much wisdom and so much to share that we probably should do this again.
Well, let's hope that the outcome is a little different.
And let's hope we see it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's on us.
Adela says she could not accomplish what she has if it were not for her husband of 44 years, Fernando Garcia. Her family is her pride and joy, and of course her grandsons are very high in the list of importance. A thank you to everyone who has touched Adela's life and made this podcast possible. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of Father Richard H. Brown, S.J. He mentored Adela and thousands of other young people. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to the We Made San Diego audio-video podcast. Please subscribe. Visit our website, wemadesandiego.com, to learn more. My name is Maria E. Garcia. Adios.
Did you know